All right, Mr. Reilly, can you start off by saying your name and the service you were involved in?
Yeah, it's United States Navy. My name is James P. Reilly, United States Navy, 1966 to 1970.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Why did you join the service, or why were you drafted into the service? Or?
I joined the service. I had a low draft number, but I did join the service because when I was a child, I had a picture of my father and my Uncle Mickey in our grandmother's house in Pennsylvania. And my father's picture was an old Army sepia. I don't know, you know what a sepia picture is? It's like all brown, no colors. But my uncle was in the Navy, and he had a nice, beautiful color photo. And all the time growing up as a kid, I said that's what I wanted to do. And never had any plans to go to college or anything. I knew I was going to go into the Navy as soon as I graduated.
That's good. That's good. Where were you living at the time of your service?
I was living in the South Bronx.
South Bronx? Mm-hmm. Do you like it there? Or?
In the South Bronx?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great place.
What was your experiences in boot camp like?
Boot camp was kind of fun. I spent the first two. Well, first of all, I signed up with a friend of mine. Okay, we wanted to join together. His name was Dennis Farrell, and we signed up together because we were afraid a little bit of boot camp. You know, you heard a lot of stories about how tough it was, and the recruiter promised us that we'd be together for boot camp. So we signed up. We went down to Whitehall Street and took our oath, and then we took a train out of New York City. And they put us in a beautiful sleeper car, which is amazing. Yeah. And we went to sleep, and I woke up, and we're in Washington, D.C. Well, boot camp is in Chicago. And I was panicking, thinking we got on the wrong train. But they had to get down through Washington to get up to Chicago. Well, we get off the train, and we got on a bus and went out to the Great Lakes Naval Training Center. And we get off the bus, and that's the last I saw him. He went one way, and I went the other. So this promise of being together for all boot camp.
What were your job assignments after boot camp?
After boot camp, I went to Pensacola, Florida, with the A school. All the services have A school, B schools, and C schools. Right? A school is just a basic like AIT in an army for training, for military training. And it was to learn my trade at the time, which was naval intelligence. So there were 3 different kinds of intelligence class you could go to. I got picked for one. Spent 6 months there learning that trade. And I had a great time because it's Pensacola, Florida. Yeah. We bought a car from a guy, and we went out to Pensacola Beach pretty much every weekend. And it was, it's a 9-to-5 job while you're in school, so it was really great. Yeah. So,
is there you said the intelligence? Was there any missions you went on, or anything you did while you were in that specific training or job?
Not during the training, but afterwards, we didn't go any. I'd not call it missions, but we had to do. We had certain things we had to find out about people. So when I left A school, I went to Cuba for a year.
Oh, okay.
Right? So down in Cuba, we kept an eye on the Cubans, right? And we would have, if you remember the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1963, right? Well, the Cubans were not our best friends, and they still aren't. And we'd have to keep an eye on those guys. So that was our job. And we were Cuba is this long, and down here is Guantanamo Bay, and up here is Havana. And so we paid attention to what was going on the island.
All right, fair enough. Were you ever involved in any secret operations after that point? Was there?
I would say all my job. It wasn't. I don't want to use the operations, but all the stuff we did was secret. Right? Everything we did is making sure that we knew what was going on in the world. Yeah. Okay. So every day I went to work. That was my job. I met a guy. Maybe it was A school. I forget now. But anyway, I met this guy named Phil Sunday. And Phil and I took a test to become language interpreters. They wanted to teach us Russian in Seattle. But in order to do that, you had to sign up for 2 more years because the course was 2 years, and then they still wanted your time. So I decided not to do it, but he did because he lived in Seattle, and he thought it would be like, just like being home for 2 years, so what's the difference? And we talked about that for a while. I cautioned him against that because in our school, you take 2 weeks worth of training, and then you take a test. If you fail that test, you took the same 2 weeks again, and if you failed that test, then you were out. So I said Russian, and he knew this wasn't a very easy language to learn. Yeah. And so he went through it. Of course, he failed out. I mean, like I knew he would. And they put him back in the job that we learned originally. And he was on a EC-131, which is a intelligence ship, a plane. And the North Koreans shot it down. Now he's dead. He's laying at Phil Sunday's Tennessee somewhere. You hear a lot about people die in combat, but inherently the service is a dangerous job. You have planes that crash, you have tank accidents, you have all sorts of stuff, and anybody that signs up, if they think that just because they're not a combat vet, I give those guys a lot of praise, but just because you're in the service, you're in an inherently dangerous job no matter what you do. So because of that, I think there's a bond, and you might see it down here. As soon as any service person meets another service person, Right? There's an instant bond between them. They can talk about their stories, and they're like they've been friends forever. That's the one thing. The other thing is Phil Sunday. Here's a guy who had no idea what was going to happen to him. He thought he was going to do his country a favor and ends up getting killed.